Well, I gave up my cane about a week ago. I'm not revisited
Did you have a request on your? So I had a hip request here. Now I have a knee. So now I'm gonna have the other. Pretty soon I'll be bionic.
Well, that's the way I feel sometimes.
Well, that's all right. If they can keep replacing, if they can replace my brain, I'll be really good.
It's still worse.
Okay, bye-bye. Happy New Year. I think we got them all.
Right on. Thank you so much.
All right, have a good meeting.
Okay, see ya.
Yes, sir. Oh, well, I really done it. If I can read it, I'll talk to you something, right?
I call to order the council meeting of the City Council of Central City on January 2nd, 2018 at 7:04 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mayor Fay,
Here.
Alderman Aiken,
Present.
Alderman Mitchell,
Present.
Alderman Heidel,
Here.
Alderman Larada.
I did get a message from Judy. We're missing one of our aldermen, that's Judy Larada, who has gone through some medical issues of late, and she was not able to be with us, but she did want me to send a message. Her message is that she's very excited about the future of our policy making and the future of our relationships, and that's to me and to all of her fellow council. So Judy's in our hearts. And now if everyone would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any additions and or amendments to the agenda?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Are there any conflicts of interest with any issues on the agenda? So we go to the consent agenda. Do I read it? The consent agenda contains items that can be decided without discussion. Is that February?
It's up to you. You can, or you can just ask if any of the council members would like to take anything off for discussion. Otherwise, you'll entertain a motion.
Any pieces on the consent agenda that you want to discuss?
We might, for the audience, explain what's on the consent agenda, the regular bill list.
The consent agenda for the evening is the regular bill list through December 19th and the city council minutes of December 18th, 2018.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I second it.
Okay.
All in favor? So now we have a public forum for audience participation. Is that
This is for, it's for items on the agenda.
yes, so this is for items on the agenda. We have one person signed up, David Jocelyn.
David Jocelyn, 344 East First High Street, and representative of the Weekly Register Call. And Mr. Mayor, new mayor, and council people, there are a couple items on the regular bill list I just wanted to get clarification on. And the first is check, let's see, it's check number 135088 to Colorado Entertainment for $400. And then the second, kind of goes hand in hand with that, is the number 135098 to JKQ for catering, retirement, and holiday events. And I'm just wondering, the description says retirement is the entire amount for, say, the retirement party held for the former Mayor Pro Tem. Is that what it was for? And what budget item is this being pulled from?
I'll just fault to Daniel on this.
Mr. Mayor, council members, I'll take it in reverse order. I apologize, David, I didn't catch the first one, but the second with JKQ Barbecue. Are you looking at 135006? Catering? Because we have a couple that have gone to JKQ Barbecue.
I think he's looking at 098.
098. That was in the amount of $2,662.
So to answer your question about whether that was just for one event or for two, it was actually for two events. One was for the open public city event held at the Elks. That was for previous Mayor Pro Tem Shirley Voorhees, and also for the city's holiday party.
Okay. And what budget line item is that being?
So there are two different line items. One is council discretionary, and the other is manager discretionary.
Okay. And then lastly, there was, I apologize, I don't have my highlighted copy.
You had asked
with me.
about 135088 Colorado Entertainment for $400.
Yes, but that was kind of, it was wrapped up in the same question, because that also is earmarked for retirement.
And that would have been
Channel-
entertainment.
The $23,000 paid to KMGH for Channel 7 Media. And I don't know if that is for advertising that we paid for in 2018, or if it's for future advertising. I'm hoping it's for some of the wonderful videos that have been put together. Where we can value, that's a chunk of change for advertising for the city, if that's having any impact.
I think that's a great question.
So, Mr. Mayor, council members, and just to provide clarification, I will provide the answer, but just for the benefit of the council, this is a time for audience participation, not necessarily an opportunity back and forth. But again, we've been answering in the past, and I think we'll continue to do so, but I just wanted to make that clear. With the $23,000 buy, that is pre-purchased entertainment, marketing and advertising. It's for television ads, and we have not run. This will be one of the first years that we do as much advertising as we're doing here. And so we don't have a benchmark that's been established yet. What we do have is we're currently working on a market that will be presenting to council probably at the end of the first quarter. And at that point, we'll be establishing some of those benchmarks. Also, what types of, whether it's going to be tourism, what types of marketing and advertising we're going to be targeting. So this one in particular is a first.
All right, thank you very much. I've held up your meeting long enough.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to talk about items on the agenda? Seeing no one, do I close it?
You just go to the next guy.
Okay. Next item is action items for new business. We're going to go into annual appointments. The Mayor Pro Tem appointment pursuant to City Charter Section 3.5B, I would like to nominate Judy Larada in absentee as the Mayor Pro Tem and open that to discussion.
I'll second that.
I assume she's prepared to accept it.
She has told me that she wished it, so I would assume she would accept it.
In the absence of any other nominations, then I think we're ready for a vote. Unless there are other nominations.
Are there any other nominations? I think Judy will be very happy, so can I get a vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Judy Lorada is the mayor pro tem. Thank you. Legal publication for 2019. I'm gonna ask Camille what that's all about.
Mr. Mayor, council members, each year at the organizational meeting of the city council, we designate locations as well as the publication of record where we will have public notices printed. That is the weekly register call. It's a local paper, and that satisfies our requirement with respect to things like ordinances or budget hearings, the hearings that we are required to publish.
Is there? It is what it is.
I think we just need formal designation of the weekly register call as the publication of record for the city.
I got you.
I'll move the weekly register call be deemed legal publication for 2019.
I second it.
Can we get a vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next on is item C, DRCOG representative. And is there anyone on council that is already a representative there? Or did we lose that representative?
We did.
We did, okay. What was that for? The DRCOG, which is what?
Dr. Cole.
Oh, okay.
Everett Regional Council of Governments.
Did Lone Tree participate in that?
Yes.
Is that something that they would be interested in?
I think it's worthwhile. The interesting aspect of DRCOG is that all members had the same vote, with the exception of Denver. And Denver, in its organization, has 2 votes. But Central City has the same vote as Aurora does, or Bloomfield, or Nevada, so I think there's value. What's the cost per year?
$600 for 2019.
I think for $50 a month, it'd be worth retaining that membership.
Okay. And would you like to be the representative?
No, but in my experience, I will serve as requested, but in my experience, that's generally held by the mayor.
By the mayor? Okay. And, looks like the mayor's going to volunteer to be the representative of the DRCOG for 2019. Can I get a vote on that, please?
Second.
Aye.
Aye. You heard me say it. Next is item D, is the Gilpin Ambulance Authority representative and alternate. We need 2 people for this one. Are those both vacant right now?
Mr. Mayor, Council, the Gilpin Ambulance Authority, we have 1 position on that board.
Okay.
And Blackhawk has 2 and the county has 2. So we need a designated representative and an alternate to serve in any absence.
Joe, was this what you were interested in?
Not me.
No. Oh, you were suggesting Buddy should do it. Buddy's already on from the county.
So this, Mr. Mayor, council members, the Gilpin Ambulance Authority, this is, again, a member that we've lost. Previous Mayor Hyder was the member, and I served as the alternate. And so I've been serving in that capacity since she's been unable to serve in the last meeting. So
Is this the one where somebody
I can
asked me
continue.
not to be on there?
I believe this was the one where there was a group that had asked if I would be willing to serve as opposed to being just alternate.
Okay. So you do serve?
I have been going regularly, but it's really up to the council.
I nominate Daniel Mira.
When do they meet?
We meet on the second Wednesday of each month,
During the day or during the night?
10 a.m. at the Apex facility over off of 119. Calvary.
Does it require an elected official
No.
according to the ambulance authority charter?
It does not. The bylaws allow for any representative so long as they're appointed by the city. In the past, I believe that former councils have elected to represent themselves as a council member, or they've appointed somebody from the community. It's been staff members generally. So it varies.
I want to do it.
Anyone else? I nominate Jackie Mitchell to be the representative for the state, and perhaps Daniel could be an alternate.
Yes.
Can we get a vote on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay. Thank you, Jackie. Next, item E is I-70 Coalition Representative and Alternate. Are those vacated seats as well?
That is one seat that the city has, and is similar to GAA, also allows for representatives that are appointed by the city council, doesn't necessarily have to be an elected official, but
I've attended coalition meetings in the past, and I'd like to continue to do that in an official capacity.
Okay.
And I'll be the alternate.
You wanna be
We
alternate?
can both do
There you go.
Okay, Joe Bain had expressed interest in that. You want to be the alternate there?
Mhm.
Okay. So I nominate that Jack Heidel be the representative and that Jackie Mitchell be the alternate. All in favor?
that. Aye.
Aye. Letter F on our final appointment is the Local Emergency Planning Committee, LDPC Advisory Representative.
Mr. Mayor, council members, Alderman Judy Lorata has previously and continues at this point to be the designated representative. I believe she is requested as of today that if she's considered for this role, that it be in an alternate position as opposed to the regular member.
When does this coalition meeting meet?
They meet on Thursdays, I believe.
Thursdays.
Third or second Thursday?
Third Thursday, I believe. I'll be able to confirm that. They have not always met regularly. And it has been headed up by Kevin Armstrong, who now is newly elected as sheriff, and so he has indicated that they will assign somebody to take over, and so they may be having some regular meetings. Thursdays, I believe it is the third Thursday,
Yeah.
and 9.
Sometimes mine was Mesa, and sometimes, well, I went to one that was up at the sheriff's office. And I think it was November, I went up there.
So the last few have been at the Emergency Operations Center for Blackhawk, and that's up at Miners Mesa.
I want to do it.
You do?
And then Judy can be the alternate.
Okay, I nominate Jackie Mitchell to be the representative and Judy Lorata to be the alternate. Can we get a vote?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Jackie. Item 8 is resolution number 1901. It's the first one. A resolution designating the public place for posting notices of regular and special meetings of local public bodies of the city. Eva?
Yes, so this is something we do every year, and we have shown in our resolution that we will post the city council agendas, including the liquor licensing authority, retail marijuana store licensing authority, planning commission, and historic preservation commission. The posting places are at City Hall and at the post office. So that is not any change from last year.
Sounds good to me. Do we need a motion to, can we get a motion?
I have a motion to approve resolution number 10-07, the resolution designating public places for posting notices of regular special meetings and local public bodies of the city to remain the same.
And I'm sorry, Alderman Mitchell,
sorry,
it's
1901.
1901.
1901.
We get a vote?
Aye.
Was there a second?
Second, okay. A vote, please. Second and aye. Next, we have resolution number 19-02, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Central Colorado establishing certain financial procedures specific to check signatories.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. Resolution 1902 is a housekeeping item. It establishes those elected officials and employees authorized to sign checks, as well as those authorized as a signatory on the bank accounts for the city. So newly elected Jeremy Fay would be replacing former Mayor Hyder, and then we'd be naming Mayor Pro Tem Lorado. I think stand for any questions.
And that's for a check over a certain amount?
It's all checks.
All checks, okay?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we can talk about the procedures later.
Sure.
Okay. Can we get a motion?
Let's see, make a motion to approve resolution 1902, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Central Colorado establishing certain financial procedures specific to authorized check signatures in the use of credit cards.
I second it.
Seeing a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously. Next, we have staff updates.
Mr. Mayor, council members, just a couple items to update you on. The roof repair work over at the Belvedere Theater as well as at Johnson Reservoir have been completed. Later this week and into next week, final inspections will be done, and we'll have warranties on that work. And so just kind of an update that is something that was completed in this previous fiscal year. We do have a proposed policy that we'll bring for your consideration on the 15th, and that is for telephonic meeting participation. And so we'll lay that out a little bit more in more detail on the 15th. Just something to note, we will likely have upcoming water line repair work. One would be on Packard Street, and then the other at the intersection of Main Street, Lawrence and Eureka, right there at the T, and the other T. So that is something that right now is either a main line or a fire suppression service line. That is still, we're still trying to determine that, but there is an active leak, and so we'll be needing to move forward with that. We'll likely try to do it in the middle of the night on a relatively slower night as far as businesses are concerned. We were able to do that a few years ago, and some residents didn't know any different. That was an emergency. This one is somewhat emergent, but we are planning that, and we'll do our best to put out the information as much as possible by working with the weekly register call, social media, and then also just door-to-door with door hangers. And so that's something that we'll have some more detail on. We're currently working on procuring the services of a contractor to take care of that, and also determining the exact cause. So it's likely a faulty valve.
And is this going to entail turning off water in certain areas of the city?
It is very likely that the water would have to be turned off. There's a valve that's right at County Road and Eureka. It's the same one that we exercised back in 2015. That does shut off the water. We have repaired and replaced some of the PRVs, pressure relief valves, and so we're hopeful that we'll be able to do so without any major issues. But we're working through that with the engineers right now.
And last time we did the work, how long was the water off? Since you said it was that night.
I believe we shut it off, this may not be exact as I recall it, about 10:30 p.m. or so. There was still water that was charged in the system, and so some of the residents up at on the high streets didn't notice any drop in pressure. We worked with the casinos to make sure that they were shut off, and we were out there until about 6 a.m. And completing that process, turning everybody back on. So we worked through the night on that one.
Thank you.
Where's it surfacing?
Right now, sorry, sir. Right now, the one on Packard is surfacing just right at the intersection, the southeast intersection, a southeast corner where the asphalt starts, right by the Bates Hunter mine. That one's a piece of cake to isolate. The only business that'll affect will be the Bates Hunter mine. However, the one of greater concern for the city is surfacing at the intersection of Main, Lawrence, and Eureka.
And this isn't having an impact, a significant impact on the Clearwater tank?
No, it is not. It's probably, if I were to guess, maybe a gallon a minute, but it's causing a glacier. It caused a glacier over the weekend, so we got to do something, you know.
Any other staff updates?
No, we'll stand for any questions you may have.
Any questions?
What are the next steps for the Belvedere since we have the work?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Mitchell, there's a lot of J's, so. We will be discussing, likely be discussing that as well as a number of other items. We're planning for the 22nd, a work session, 22nd of January, to discuss a number of items, specifically strategic planning, but also those specific projects as well. So.
Thank you.
Any questions, Jeff?
Okay. However, Mr. Mayor, if I may apologize, as far as next steps where we're currently at, I can tell you that we have we've executed the agreement with the state with respect to the grant that we received, and then via council action in 2018, we've signed the contract with the design firm, and so that piece of it has been moving forward, but anything beyond that is what we'll be discussing.
Do we have any like dates for the Saving Places conference?
We do. I believe that it's February 2nd through the 4th. Is that right, Bob? And so we do have registrations that are starting for that now. In fact, we're just processing that today.
I would like to attend this year again.
Okay. Any other members of council interested in attending, just let us know. We'll get you scheduled.
Any other questions, Jeff? No. Okay. We'll close the staff updates and go to council comments. We can just go down the line, Jeff?
Daniel just mentioned a work session on the 22nd of January that I anticipate will be used to establish priorities and policies and programs that this new council will be considering. And we also have the ULI report that is yet to be received. Is that not correct?
Correct.
Those two items, I think, are going to be important for us to set the direction for 2019. But we don't have to wait that long. There are things that we can do right now that would have an impact on economic development in Central City. In the ULI oral report, mention was made that there isn't a silver bullet to the economics of Central City, but there's a silver shotgun blast is the way they characterize it. But mini pellets going in the same direction to accomplish the same goal. And I'd like to suggest one shotgun pellet right now. Nothing quite says that you're not open for business, that you're not welcoming customers like a snowy sidewalk in front of your establishment.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Public forum. Thank you. I don't have to speak. Thank you. Go ahead.
When cars come down the parkway and they pause at the stop sign just out front here and look down Main Street and they see half of that street with snowy sidewalks, it does not send a message that says, I'm going to look for a place to park, and that's someplace that I want to go spend some time. It may be just a small little snow. We didn't have much snow this last event, but you can see that the south end of Main Street, the walkway from Spring Street down to Johnny Z's Grand Casino is, except for the post office, pretty well snow-packed. That doesn't send the image that we want to present. We have an ordinance about snow removal, but it doesn't give the specificity, I think, that allows people to understand exactly what the expectations are. It says 6 hours after a storm. I would like to see the staff consider a policy, if my colleagues would agree to give that direction, a policy that would establish details that would allow that ordinance to be enforced. Details such as what is a clear sidewalk. In my opinion, a clear sidewalk is more than a 1 foot path down the middle of it. And it has to be maintained and kept clear. We have winds up here that'll blow a sidewalk full of snow again just hours later. That's a consistent effort that needs to be made in order to meet the goal of that ordinance. And the goal in this case is to try to present an image that the city is open and ready for business. I think that even a little bit of snow, such as we had, is enough to pack down snow and create icy spots that make it challenging to walk, and again creates that impression that we're not ready for business. I know that there are means for the city to take that business on if they can't get the property owners to comply with what our expectations are. And there is a process where we can send that bill to the building owners for eventual payment. And I understand it's a real pain to go through that whole process on both sides of it. And it can be very difficult, but I think it's something that once we embark on, we will have a better chance of success in maintaining a look that invites people into our community. There's another point I wanted to make on that. I can't remember it. But I'll open it up for discussion. I think part of what the staff needs is some indication that council's in agreement so that they don't go spinning their wheels putting together some kind of guideline document and then find that that isn't the direction council wants to take. So I'm interested in the rest of my colleagues' discussion.
And well, we've been through this a lot, and I'm still wondering why I thought we had something in effect where, you know, the properties are absentee owner properties, so they do need to be, you know, cleaned off, and within, you know, a timely, you know, effort after the snow. So I figure whatever you think we need to do to enforce this, or you know, get some policy, and I'm all in favor of, you know, getting this taken care of, you know, before the next snow or something, because you know, it's not good. It's just, you know, people can fall and it doesn't look good, I agree, you know. And there's a couple sidewalks I take care of, and I try to get out there, you know, when I can, and get them clear. And it looks bad when you see a clean sidewalk and a bunch of snow on one. And you know, then in front of the Pythis building, it's pretty, you can get pretty treacherous there walking to the post office and stuff. So yeah, I think, you know, we need to get some kind of concrete policy in effect when we can start enforcing this. And I know we talked about having hired somebody to do it.
Mayor, if I may, council members, and specifically to some of the points that Alderman Heidel and Aiken have brought up. We do have a draft policy. It's general. It doesn't have some of the detail that we need to add, like some of the guidelines as to what actually is a clear sidewalk. But we have been working on a version that has some teeth. The one that we currently have on the books, as Alderman Heidel mentioned earlier, it doesn't give us any real enforcement teeth. And so oftentimes one of the most difficult things to do is we're citing a property owner and they can either pay a fine or or it's leaning property. And so that hasn't been effective. There have been property owners that have hired a firm or a company or an individual to do it, and sometimes they show up and sometimes they don't. The biggest thing that we're going to be looking for, I think, some direction or commitment from the city on would be, should we provide some uniform service so that either all of those properties are maintained to the same level? Most of what we focus on is the downtown, the commercial properties. We also have some residential properties that have sidewalks as well. The difficulty we've had, because we have tried to hire our own staff to actually do that, unless we're hiring a full-time equivalent that we will keep whether we have snowstorms or into the summer. Part-time has not been successful, especially when you can't guarantee any set of hours or when that would be. One idea that has been floated though is, and this is where there's been some disagreement maybe with some of the property owners in the downtown, is some of those property owners have consistently taken care of those sidewalks with their own personnel. If there was a program where one contractor could come up every single snow event and take care of and know that they can take care of all sidewalks, that's something that we've heard from some contractors that they would be more interested in than just let us know if somebody doesn't plow. So that's what we'd like to get some more detail on and direction from council on.
Yeah, I think it would be tough to tell a business owner who has staff on hand that you have to outsource your snow removal, but if that's something, it doesn't feel right to me, but.
I would like to see contact the people and tell them that, you know, our policy is going to be, that we're going, if you don't have anybody designated to do your snow removal, then we will designate somebody, will hire somebody and try and bill them. But give them an opportunity to, like, just tell them that you need to, you know, take care of this on your end. If you can't or won't, then we will go ahead and we'll hire somebody, or we'll designate some people to do it, and we'll bill the proper owners.
And
I'm sorry to interrupt. I think we need to discuss this at another time. I think that we all know it, but I do think that in the interim, like Jack said, I think the city, I know it's a strain on saving these people, but if there's sidewalks here in the main core that are not done for whatever reason, I think the city does have to get on that.
And Mr. Mayor,
I agree that it needs more discussion, but there's a point I'd like to make before we. I would not be in favor of the city staff taking that responsibility. They've got their hands full, and generally they are just getting done with hours on a snowplow looking into a blinding snowstorm, and they need downtime, and that's not going to give us the result that we want. I think ideally we would have one contractor that does the entire city, but that's an ideal circumstance. We can move in that direction with the consent and support the building owners in the core community, but we're not going to get there right away. It's a discussion that needs to go on. The city has to demonstrate it's serious about the problem.
Well, and that's all I was going to add, was that when we're having that discussion, the operational pieces of it are important for us to discuss, because opportunity cost wise, if we're taking somebody off of the parkway to shovel on the sidewalks, that's probably not preferable.
Yeah, that's good.
So we will be bringing that forward. Right now, we have it planned tentatively for the 15th. At the same time, Sam Hoover will also be presenting a refresh on the snow removal policy, priority streets, etc., just so that everyone has that information again. It is on our website, but we will make that part of that discussion.
Maybe get a contact list of the owners, that somebody could contact them and offer services to clear the blocks.
Yeah, I agree with what Jack's saying completely on like, that is an issue. I wouldn't go and park, I didn't think it was open. Usually people that are open scrape their sidewalks. You don't go down to Denver or any other place and people do not scrape their sidewalks, or they get hefty fines, and usually it's within hours, like 3 hours. 6 hours is very long. Up here we get very cold in the winds and things like that. You know, like the Pythias, it's very treacherous. Like if you slip there, you are in the road. I mean, Sam and those people, there's no way that they can take resources off the parkway and sanding and things like that. Even with their new budget, with hiring 2 new public works people, it's like that's just, or not 2 new public people, but we're having more staff, but we can't reallocate that to other things. The businesses need to take ownership of their sidewalks, and they need to do that. And if they don't, I think they should get hefty fines. And then if we can do a steward, if we can have a steward of the, you know, someone wants to be a steward of it, that's great. If we can find contractors that is willing to come here, if we can give them multiple resources. But if they don't have their employee or staff go out there, I think they should receive a fine. Or we should place a steward on that property and say, you will take care of it, and they can put a lien or something on the property or bill them accordingly. But we can't continue to have people, you know, slipping in the street, because that's literally what is happening. People are slipping off the sidewalk into the street.
So, I can just notify them and then tell them what's going to happen. You know, we're going to have to hire somebody. If you can't take care of your sidewalks, the city will take care of it and bill you.
I don't think it's an if anymore. They've shown for at least the 2 years I've been here that they're not. So I don't think it's an if anymore. We need to decide what we're going to do, but we'll decide that.
Yeah.
And we'll have those fines in this version, but at the same time, we still have to have it cleared, even if they pay the fine. So from a practical standpoint.
Okay.
Alderman Mitchell, any comments beyond what we're spoken about?
Looking for a public forum for action items.
May I ask, is there any interest in having that discussion prior to the 15th?
I think we should, I'm available tomorrow. So yes.
Probably need about 72 hours to defend this.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as possible.
Is there interest from the council?
Urgent. I think it's more urgent that we need to.
It's important.
Are you looking for a special meeting?
That's what that's what I'm asking is,
I have ideas on this. I could stop by and give you that you could draft something to present at a later date, but I'm available for a special meeting if that's what you would rather do.
Okay, we can try to coordinate with you all on your schedules for.
Please.
Okay.
Any other comments, Jeff?
Just to say I look forward to working with our new mayor and my 2 new council members, and I think we'll have some, it's going to be a good thing, so welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to see you're here.
And if I may just briefly, and yes, I'm excited, I feel blessed, I want to thank everybody, and I want to put a thank you out to past leadership, especially Kathy Hyder. I'm very excited to take on the reins and move forward as mayor and working with you guys. I'm excited to work with staff. I love how many people we have in the room. This is proof that if you come to this room and you get involved, you can make a difference and you can take it to the next step. So I want to thank everyone. I'm very excited about working with you guys in the coming years, coming days, coming months, and that's that. Our next, nothing else to say? Okay, and our next is our final public forum, audience participation for non-agenda items. Is there anyone out there signed up? I didn't get a sign up.
There wasn't anybody signed up.
Please come to the podium, name and address. particular issue.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, Joe Bain, 132 Lawrence Street, Central City. Jack, I guess great minds think alike. You guys belabored that for a little bit. I had some discussions with board members of the BID today, and they were very concerned. And it isn't just the 2 millionaire absentee owners. There's actually 3 millionaire absentee owners. There's even a business that is currently open for business that didn't do anything as well in one of those buildings, by the way. So tenants are also guilty. And for what reason that they don't even do their own sidewalk because they rely on business seems to be contradictory. So perhaps the ordinance that you look at would include fines on tenants if their building is occupied. The MJ shop didn't do it either, and those guys are pretty able-bodied. I don't know. It just seemed like, and it did hit on a holiday weekend, but that's of course when they always hit, right? The board members I talked to spoke to recommended a graduated scale, something that'll get somebody's attention. The carrot doesn't work anymore with these guys. It's $100 first time, $250, $500, and it stays at $500 all through the year once you hit that. It's like dog. I don't know if you guys ever had a dog ordinance in one of the towns you lived in, but I remember my dog got caught like 3 times the last time. It was like jail. You know, it was horrible. I had to get a bail bondsman for him and me. And so that's something that we really feel strongly about. I appreciate you bringing that up right away because it was evident there were places in town that were impassable. And secondly, and then there is a dilemma of how you do it even after you find them. You know, it's just not, they're not going to come out that night and do it. So, but we do have a guy in town, Chuck Webster. He's very interested in doing that. He does it for a few people in town, and he's willing to take on more clients. He just put a bid in with CDOG. So perhaps there's an option because Zeke and I talked about that. Is there anybody around that might want to do it? And then finally, welcome to the new council and also the old members of council.
Not the oldest one.
You know, the mayor, when I was fortunate enough to have the gavel in Golden, I wasn't afraid to use the gavel for a variety of reasons. It was
cut off.
No, I got 30 seconds. But you know, the louder you do it, you keep the older members of council awake. Jack.
Is that age discrimination?
Yes, it is.
And also, don't be afraid of the audience keeping them really late. Everybody in here loves to stay at these seats. They're entertaining, and they're also informative and educational.
Now, what was your address again, young man? 132.
You get to hear from an attorney at times, an esteemed city manager, and possibly a clerk, and a finance director. It's a great opportunity, you guys, to get into, like as Mayor Faith said, to get involved. So keep coming to the meetings, and I hope, you know, there was records set last year for meeting times, like a 15-minute meeting, 20-minute meeting. And nobody has family to go home to. Just keep it going.
Anyone else from the audience want to say anything?
Mr. Mayor, Council, I just want to add, and especially Councilman Heidel, thank you for bringing that up. I walked over to the council meeting tonight, and I slept in 3 different places, near Johnny Z's, and then on the sidewalk next to the Century that isn't fairly used, and then again by the old docks. And so I can testify that those sidewalks are slippery. Thank you.
With that, we will adjourn this meeting. Our next council meeting is on January 15th. Hope to see you all there. One other thing, I am buying drinks and food at Charlie's here in a half hour, and we're going to party all night. And Golden Music will be there as well. Would love for everyone to join us for that song.
Yeah.
Hey. Sorry.